Hello, my name's Brenda. I used to think staying silent made me stronger, that if I just kept helping, giving, showing up, they'd eventually see me. But then my cousin sent me a video, my sister laughing, mocking me at her wedding, a wedding held at my venue, paid with my money, under a contract I never signed. They said I was family, so why did I feel like the hired help? And if that was just the start, what else have they been hiding? What would you do if the people you loved the most built an entire celebration around erasing you? Monday started like most days. Coffee brewed strong, inbox already bloated by 8:03 a.m., and me seated behind the reception glass at Relia and Company, my event venue in the heart of downtown Savannah. Sunlight filtered through the gold-tinted blinds, throwing warm streaks across the marble tile. I was clicking through the weekly booking queue, flagging invoice errors and checking vendor confirmations. Nothing unusual, until I saw that name. Gacy Kemper Wedding, Private Coordinator. The title glared back at me from our master calendar like graffiti on a church wall. My fingers hovered over the mouse, motionless. Gacy. That was my sister's last name. Delphine Gacy. There was no reason she should be attached to anything on my venue schedule, not without my consent. I hit the intercom. Justine, you in yet? A few seconds later, my assistant's voice crackled through. Yep, just walked in. You need something? I need you in my office now. While I waited, I opened the event profile. Booking had been submitted through a third-party coordinator, Monroe Events Group, not our internal client intake system. The file listed the venue as Ballroom A, full luxury service package, date set for June 22nd. That was a premium slot, one we typically locked 6 months in advance. Justine arrived, tablet in hand, her expression already bracing for trouble. Do you recognize this name? I turned the monitor toward her. Her brows lifted. Delphine? Isn't that your… Yes, I cut in. That's my sister. But I didn't authorize this. Justine scrolled through the file. Says it was booked 3 weeks ago, via Monroe, signed and paid. Signed by who? She tapped. Brenda Relia. My blood chilled. Open the contract. She clicked the PDF open. Sure enough, there it was. My name at the bottom, in a signature that looked almost like mine. Elegant loops, confident strokes, but too wide, too dramatic. I didn't sign this. Justine looked up, concern etched on her face. Are you sure? I'd never sign a 6-figure booking without a face-to-face. We both stared at the screen. Total balance, $198,650. Package, custom floral installs, live musicians, valet, full bar, luxury rentals, imported linens, all charged under my name, with me listed as the financial underwriter. I opened my archive folder, scrolled to a verified contract from a previous client, and pulled up my actual signature. Side by side, the forgery became obvious. Whoever copied it had done their homework. But not enough. Justine let out a low whistle. This is big. I didn't answer. I was already 3 steps ahead, remembering a text from my mother sent weeks ago. Don't worry about the family stuff, sweetheart. We're handling it. Handling it? Apparently by forging my damn name. I clicked into our family WhatsApp thread. Buried between forwarded memes and Bible quotes, I found Delphine's message. Hope you all are free June 22nd. It's going to be the event of the year. Nothing else. No context, no venue mention, no RSVP follow-up, because there was nothing to confirm. It was a setup. They didn't need me to agree. They needed me to not check until it was too late. A sick heat pooled in my chest. I turned to Justine. Do we still archive overnight footage from last week? She nodded. 7-day loop. Why? I want to see who's been inside my ballroom. We fast-forwarded through the footage from 3 nights ago. There she was, Delphine, strutting through Ballroom A in stilettos, draped in silk, followed by a planner and 2 interns carrying clipboards and iPads. She never checked in. No clipboard signature, no call to staff, no text to me. She walked through my building like she owned the damn place. My jaw locked. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a surprise party. This was a hijack. I inhaled through my nose and exhaled slowly. Every instinct screamed for confrontation. I wanted to call her, to call my mother, to scream through every group chat. Instead, I clicked print on the contract. I took screenshots of the signature, the timestamped footage, and the booking portal metadata. On my desktop, I created a new folder. Delphine June inside it, I saved every file with precise names. Forged_signature.pdf ballroom_footage _06-01.mov event _listing_monroe.png no confrontation. Not yet. Just documentation. Just preparation, I whispered under my breath. You chose war. I choose the weapon. Then I closed the folder, leaned back in my chair, and stared at the wall of floral samples behind my desk. The same ones I'd chosen for a client who actually respected my work. My fingers tapped the edge of the desk, steady and deliberate. She really thought I'd say nothing, I murmured, half smiling. She's right, for now. I stayed late that night. After saving the files and locking the office, I didn't go straight home. I walked the halls of Rilya and Company, past the arched doorways I designed, past the sconces I picked out, past the rooms my name paid for. I told myself I was just doing rounds, making sure everything was in place for the weekend weddings. But deep down, I needed to feel the bones of the place, to remind myself this building didn't just have my name on it, it had me in it. That's why the next morning, when I returned for a routine walkthrough, I knew something was off before I even stepped through the front lobby. The air had changed. There were lilies in the air. Lilies I didn't order. I could hear someone laughing from Ballroom A, a sharp, over-rehearsed cackle bouncing off the marble walls. As I walked toward the noise, I saw white rose petals scattered on the entry rug, petals that hadn't been part of any plan I approved. Inside, the ballroom was flooded with natural light, and Delphine. She was standing dead center under the crystal chandelier, the one I had flown in from Italy, wearing a silk jumpsuit, heels too loud for tile, and oversized sunglasses that screamed influencer in denial. She was snapping her fingers at the florist, waving a binder, pointing to the arrangements like she was commanding a film set. I blinked. Once. Slowly. My breath steadied. Who approved this? I asked, my voice low but clear, addressing the nearest staffer, a fresh-faced kid arranging centerpieces. He froze. The client, Miss Gacy. I turned to look at her. Delphine hadn't seen me yet. I took 2 steps forward. The kid quietly backed away, muttering something about checking the ribbons. And then she saw me. Delphine's posture shifted. She tilted her head, slowly pulling her sunglasses down to the tip of her nose. Well, look who decided to grace us with her presence, she said, loud enough for the room to hear. I kept walking. Delphine's lips curved into a smirk. You're not needed here, Brenda. I wasn't aware I needed your permission to enter my own venue, I said calmly. She raised an eyebrow. You don't. But this space is reserved for real guests. Then she turned to her planner, gestured toward me like I was a health code violation, and said the words that would be burned into my spine for years. Someone get her out of here. Kick this beggar out. This is a luxury space, not a shelter. A silence fell. Not the kind that asks for clarification, the kind that knows what was just said. No one moved. A young staffer dropped a clipboard. A vase teetered and clinked but didn't shatter. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, watching it all. Watching how everyone, every intern, every vendor, every coordinator, pretended like I wasn't even there. Except Justine. She walked in through the side door, 5 seconds too late, scanning the room before locking eyes with me. Her steps slowed, her lips parted, as if to speak, but the air was too tight. She could read it. The heat, the humiliation, the burn of standing in your own house and being treated like furniture. Delphine rolled her eyes, turning back to her planner. Well, are we doing a run-through or not? I didn't speak. I reached into my bag, pulled out my phone, and calmly opened the camera. My thumb tapped record. Delphine turned her head just slightly. Oh my God, are you recording right now? For venue records, I said flatly. She barked a laugh. Are you going to sue your family now? For using a room you probably didn't even build with your own money? I kept filming. Quiet. Steady. No, I replied. I'm just not going to forget. And with that, I turned and walked out. I didn't slam doors. I didn't shout. But inside, a different kind of scream started. Not from pain, but from the beginning of something sharper, something colder. Justine followed me into my office. I sat down, opened my laptop. The folder was still there. Delphine June. I dragged the new clip into it and labeled it verbal_ejection_ballroom.mauve. Justine leaned against the doorway. That was brutal, she said softly. She meant every word. I nodded. She always does. You want me to pull her contract? She asked. No. I didn't look up. Let her dig the hole first. Justine hesitated, then crossed the room and placed a cup of coffee on my desk. I opened a blank spreadsheet. Across the top, sister account emotional overdrafts. First row, date vertical bar, incident vertical bar, emotional cost vertical bar response. I didn't fill anything in yet. I just stared at the blank cells. Then I clicked save. That night, I didn't go out. I didn't scroll social media. I poured a glass of wine, sat on my couch, and opened an old email my father once sent me after I'd paid for his car repair. You've always been the strong one, B. That's why we lean on you. Back then, it felt like love. Now it felt like a sentence. I stared across the living room, at the wall where I'd framed the menu from my first restaurant. It was hand-typed, printed at a corner FedEx, laminated with the cheap roll I could afford at the time. But it had my name on it. I leaned back and whispered to the room, You built this. Don't let them rewrite that. Then I reached for my phone. I pressed play on the recording from earlier. Her voice echoed through my living room like it was still bouncing off ballroom walls. Kick this beggar out. I closed my eyes and breathed in the words. Next time she opens her mouth, I said, I'll own the microphone. Kick this beggar out. It was still echoing, in my head, in my bones. But what echoed louder wasn't what she said. It was the memory it triggered. Not the one from yesterday, but from years ago. I was 19, freshly moved into my first dorm at college, trying to juggle 2 jobs and a double major. Delphine had called crying. Again, she'd just failed another class and wanted me to co-sign a private loan. It's just until next semester, she swore. I told her no, not because I didn't love her, but because my credit was barely breathing. That night, my mother called. If you think you're too good for this family, don't come back. The words hit harder than I expected, not because they hurt, but because she meant them. She weaponized the one thing I had always clung to, my place in this family. That wasn't the first time. It was just the first time I heard it out loud. I took a long sip from the mug. The morning air felt heavier than usual. I tapped the side of the cup and thought about all the invoices life had handed me. Not the financial ones, the emotional ones, the invisible ledgers they kept. My college degree? We sacrificed for you. The opening of my first restaurant? You couldn't have done that if we hadn't helped with Delphine all those years. Even the mortgage I paid on time, by myself, without a penny from anyone? That's still family land. We raised you there. Every success came with a guilt-coated receipt. I got up and walked back inside, opened my laptop, not to work, but to dig. I searched Mom in my inbox. Dozens of old emails popped up. Birthdays, holidays, check-ins that weren't really check-ins. Don't forget where you came from. Your sister really looks up to you. It wouldn't kill you to show more gratitude. There was a voicemail too, 2 minutes long. I played it on speaker as I paced the kitchen. Hey honey, I was just thinking about you. Your dad and I were talking about how proud we are. But you know, Delphine's been going through a hard time again, and it would mean a lot if you stepped up. Just remember how much we've done for you, okay? She said it like she was asking for a favor. But it sounded like a warning. I closed the email tab and opened an old folder from years ago. A scan of hospital records from when I was 10, pneumonia, week-long stay, IVs, oxygen, shadows moving behind white curtains. I remembered my mom sitting in the visitor's chair every night. I remembered thinking, this is what love looks like. But I also remembered something else, a phone call. Her whispering angrily into the receiver when she thought I was asleep. We gave up everything for her, Martin. Everything. You're working night shifts. I lost my job. We're drowning because of her. This better be worth it. She came back into the room that night and stroked my hair like nothing happened. You're the reason I'm strong, she said. You saved me. That moment used to make me cry when I thought about it. But now it felt like an exchange. A silent deal made without my consent. They loved me, conditionally. I pulled up a draft email I'd written 6 months ago after Delphine's second engagement fell apart, and my mother casually suggested I fund her therapy. It was raw, half rant, half begging. I just wish things were different between us. I hovered over the delete button, then clicked it. Gone. I opened another draft. This one never sent. It was sharper. Honest. You've never asked how I'm doing, only what I'm giving. I didn't send it either. I saved it in the Delphine June folder, right next to the video clip. Back on the porch, the sky had turned to gold, sun cutting through leaves. But I couldn't shake the weight. I grabbed my journal, the one I only used when things were too heavy for screens. I wrote, I'm tired of trading silence for peace. I'm tired of pretending guilt is love. I'm tired of being the one who holds the umbrella while everyone else dances in the rain. I closed the book and walked to the mirror in my hallway. Looked myself square in the face. No makeup, no filter, no performance. This time, I said to my own reflection, I won't forget who I am. The clock read 11:47 p.m. I set an alarm for 5 a.m., walked back to my desk, opened a new browser tab, typed in, Family Contracts, Georgia Law Scroll. Click. I kept scrolling until one bold headline stopped me in my tracks. Emotional manipulation is abuse too. I leaned in, not to cry, but to read. By the time dawn rolled in, the Georgia sky had shifted to a dull gray. I'd read every article, every legal clause about family coercion, manipulation, soft abuse, and still, none of it prepared me for what hit next. I was pouring coffee when my phone buzzed. It was Ari, my cousin from Baton Rouge. We weren't close, but she was the kind of relative who stayed quiet until something really needed to be said. Her text was short. Check Delphine's story, don't wait. Something about those 4 words made my skin crawl. I opened Instagram, thumb hesitant. The video was still fresh, only up for 4 hours. A split screen, on the left, Delphine sipping champagne from a coupe glass, laughing like she just won a pageant. On the right, my driveway. My 10-year-old Honda Civic easing into its usual spot. The caption read, When your rich sister lives like she's in witness protection. She tagged no one, of course. Just a few hashtags. Hash relatable, luxury hash, some people choose dusty. For a few seconds, I froze. Then the comment section pulled me in like a riptide. That house screams anxiety. Not her driving that. She's basically poor on purpose, huh? Imagine having that much money and still living like a ghost. I stared at the screen, then looked up, caught my own reflection in the kitchen window. Same old me, bun half-tied, sweatshirt faded from too many washes. The car parked crooked outside with a dented bumper and a Georgia tag 1 year overdue. I paid for that car, I whispered. I built this house. No help, no loans, no credit cards in someone else's name. Just my work, my hands, my 5 a.m. alarms. And that's what they mocked. Ari texted again. This video didn't go public first. I saw it in her private group. She's been joking like this for weeks. Thought you should know. I blinked. Private group? She sent me a link to a Reddit thread. I hesitated, then clicked. There it was. My name, in a thread titled Luxury Isn't Always Loud. The post had been shared under a burner account, but the tone was unmistakably Delphine's. She described a family member who hoards money like a doomsday prepper and refuses to upgrade her life despite being loaded. People ran wild with it. Classic emotional manipulation tactic. Make yourself look poor to guilt the rich ones. That screams trauma. Probably the type who thinks Target is a personality. I closed the browser, not because I couldn't read more, but because I knew exactly what this was. It wasn't just pettiness. It wasn't just passive aggression. It was a calculated branding effort. She wasn't just mocking me to friends. She was positioning me, rewriting me, making me a character, a punchline, for strangers to chew on. And they didn't even know me, but she gave them just enough to laugh. I didn't respond. I didn't post a rebuttal or tweet a clapback. Instead, I opened my email and sent one line to my PR assistant. If anyone contacts you, we are not commenting. Then I opened my spreadsheet again, added 2 columns. Column A, emotional debts. Column B, public digs. I scrolled to the top and changed the title. Social Sabotage Log Delphine. I typed the date, pasted the Reddit link, filed the Instagram screenshot. A few hours later, I drove to my parents' street. It wasn't planned. My GPS didn't direct me, my hands did. As I turned onto their block, I slowed at the bend. Their lawn had already been half covered in decorations. White and gold balloons, an arch of faux peonies, folding chairs stacked under the magnolia tree. Early wedding prep. They hadn't called me. Not once. Not even to pretend I'd be welcome. I sat there, engine idling. My eyes tracked every chair, every table being unloaded from the rental truck. I wasn't surprised. But I had hoped. For what? I don't even know. Maybe for someone to ask if I'd show, if I'd help, if I even mattered enough to RSVP. But no one did. And maybe they didn't forget. Maybe they just knew I wouldn't come. I pressed the gas, didn't look back. When I pulled into my own driveway, the last rays of afternoon sun stretched across my porch. I turned off the ignition, stared at the house I built, and whispered to the silence. Keep laughing, Delphine. The next sound you hear will be mine. I didn't go inside right away. After I pulled into the driveway, I just sat there in the car. The engine clicked quietly as it cooled, the last streaks of pink fading into dusk above the rooftop. I'd said those words. The next sound you hear will be mine, and they still rang in my ears like a promise I hadn't figured out how to deliver. Then I saw it. A courier van slowed in front of my house. The driver jumped out, a clipboard in hand, and a familiar cream-colored envelope under his arm. I knew that branding. Monroe Events Group, Delphine's wedding planner. I didn't open the door. I waited for the soft thud of the envelope against the welcome mat and the low hum of the van pulling away. I picked it up, turned it over. Gold foil embossed, expensive, excessive, predictable. Inside, a formal invitation to a pre-wedding dinner for family and close friends. I almost laughed. They still think I'm coming. But something deeper than humor stirred. Something colder, more exacting. They hadn't just dismissed me. They were counting on my silence. Again. I took a photo of the invite, sent it to Justine with one line. Schedule me for a walkthrough. I want to be there when Virginia arrives. Because if they were going to walk into my venue, with my name on the lease and my team on the ground, then I deserved front row to every fake smile and every forced toast. The next morning at Relia & Company, I showed up early. Justine had arranged a quiet vendor walkthrough under a different internal project name, so Delphine wouldn't catch wind. Everything was perfect, down to the ridiculous crystal-draped centerpieces and the imported lilies someone had ordered without my signature. It was my space, but it looked like hers. That was about to change. By 11 a.m., the Monroe family's black town car pulled in. Virginia Knowles stepped out first, looking exactly like the type of woman who ran boardrooms in heels and made partners cry behind conference doors. Ronald followed, silent and smooth in a charcoal suit. Their assistant trailed them, expression unreadable. I met Virginia at the entrance, extended my hand. Miss Knowles, thank you for coming. There's something I believe you'll want to see. She gave me a tight-lipped smile. You have 5 minutes. That's all I needed. We stepped into a side room. I didn't explain. I just played the 20-second clip from my phone. Delphine's voice, clear as crystal. She's basically a wallet with Wi-Fi. I watched Virginia's face. She didn't flinch. Just lifted her teacup, took a sip, and set it down. Then she turned to me and said calmly, Thank you for showing me the difference between a venue and a vision. I met her eyes. I'm not asking you to cancel anything. Just don't let her lie on my name. She extended her hand. Understood. Nothing more, nothing less. But that handshake, it said everything. The pre-wedding dinner was held in the same ballroom she mocked just days earlier. Everything looked perfect. Not a candle out of place, not a wine glass misaligned. But the air? The air was dense, charged. I stood near the bar, sipping sparkling water, keeping distance. Delphine spotted me across the room. She didn't approach immediately. No, she waited until she saw me speak briefly to Virginia. That's when her expression shifted. She marched toward me, heels clicking too hard against the marble. So, she began, that trademark sneer curling at the edges. Trying to score points with the Monroes now? I didn't even blink. You're confusing points with proof, I said softly. Keep pushing, Del. The next move is yours. But the next consequence? That's mine. Her jaw twitched. For a beat she tried to laugh, but it didn't land. Her eyes flicked toward Virginia, who was watching from the far side of the room. Don't flatter yourself, Delphine muttered before storming off. I didn't follow. Didn't need to. Later that night, I was back in my office. Justine forwarded me an email. Subject line: Thank you for your discretion. From Virginia Knowles. You were right to stay silent until the moment it mattered. I didn't reply. I copied the message and pasted it under a new subfolder in my desktop archive. Delphine June, shift begins. Justine texted soon after. She noticed. They all noticed. I stood in the center of the ballroom, light still glowing over polished marble, soft classical music playing low in the background, and I whispered to the stillness, she's not the only one who knows how to build an audience. It started with a Slack ping. The little bubble popped up on my screen while I was reviewing floral invoices. Jordan, venue staff. Hey, not sure if anyone showed you this yet. Check the ballroom cam from last night. Timestamp 9:46 p.m. I clicked the security portal, keyed in the time. The video loaded. There she was, Delphine, in that same off-the-shoulder white jumpsuit she wore when she wanted attention, but not feedback. She was standing in the middle of Ballroom A, arms flailing, voice high-pitched and angry. You! Hey, linen girl! Yes, you! Is this what I asked for? A young florist, barely 20, stood frozen beside a half-finished centerpiece. I recognized her. Camilla, first-generation Salvadoran American. Quiet. Always early. Always kind. Delphine didn't wait for an answer. She yanked a rose from the arrangement and flung it across the floor. This is depressing. My followers will drag me if this crap is in the background. Are you people illiterate or just lazy? Silence. You could hear someone in the back inhale sharply. Camilla's hands trembled. Another staffer, Elijah, stepped in trying to redirect. Delphine shoved the clipboard he held. It hit the floor with a hard slap. I paused the video. My jaw clenched. My hands did not shake. I downloaded the file immediately, renamed it Delphine_abuse_ballrooma_06-14.mov. Then I opened our venue handbook and highlighted section 3.2 in bold yellow. Any client or guest who verbally abuses, harasses, or threatens staff may be removed from the premises and/or have their contract terminated without refund. I attached both files, video and policy excerpt, and typed a new email. To Monroe Events Group subject, Incident Pending Review. Body attached is footage from June 14th, 9:46 p.m. at Rilya and Company Ballroom A. Behavior displayed is in violation of staff safety protocols. Per policy, this is under review for breach of contract. B. Rilya. No salutation, no soft clothes, no fluff. Just fact. Just like she gave me. 2 days passed. On Wednesday morning, Justine walked into my office holding a crisp folded printout. Her lips pressed into a flat line. She handed me the letter without a word. At the top, Monroe Events Group, Event Withdrawal Notification. The wedding was off, effective immediately. Due to breach of professional conduct toward venue personnel, Monroe Events Group is withdrawing sponsorship and event hosting support for the Gassy Kemper wedding scheduled June 22nd. No explanation, no cushioning, just black ink on heavy cardstock. I didn't smile, didn't clap, just nodded. Let her explain that one in a reel, I said, reaching for my coffee. The Monroe family wasn't taking calls. Virginia was unavailable for comment. Ronald was traveling abroad. The silence from their end said more than any press release. Delphine had always been loud, but now her silence was deafening. By Friday, the internet caught up. Delphine posted a shaky video, angled badly, crying without tears. She blamed high stress, said she was just passionate about design, and called the clip a gross misrepresentation of a private moment. But the internet doesn't care about context when you insult a brown immigrant girl on camera. TikTok flooded with stitches. Creators mimicked her voice. Linen girl, are you serious, Delphine? One tweet went viral. Guess money doesn't buy manners. # linen girl deserved better. There were memes, parodies, hashtags. Her follower count dipped by the hour. I didn't retweet, didn't like anything, but I watched. Every headline, every comment, every brand that quietly untagged her. You wanted attention, Del? Well, you got it. That evening, I sat alone in my office. The lights dimmed. The hum of the air conditioning buzzed like white noise. I opened my laptop and updated the log. Folder: Delphine, June new entry, event cancelled. Monroe severed ties, clip viral 2.1, M views public sympathy. 87% favorable, based on trending replies. I stared at the numbers like they were weather reports. Predictable, unforgiving. Then I opened a fresh document titled Recovery PR Shield Strategy. Because even if she was burning, I knew better than to stand too close to the smoke. Delphine was reckless, but she wasn't done. Not yet. I could feel it. I closed the laptop and leaned back in my chair, arms folded behind my head, eyes locked on the ceiling. She'd tried to use my business like a backdrop, my name like a credit card, my silence like consent. But silence isn't a grace period. It's a fuse. And hers just met the match. I whispered into the empty room. You wanted a wedding headline. You got one. The following morning broke gray and quiet. The kind of stillness that felt like it was holding its breath. I stood in the kitchen, the coffee machine humming low, and scrolled aimlessly through unread texts until I saw it. A package on the front porch. No knock. No doorbell. Just a manila envelope resting dead center on the welcome mat. Too neatly placed to be random. I opened the door and picked it up slowly, the paper thick and sealed with no return address. No handwriting, no indication of sender, but it felt heavy, not in weight, but in consequence. I peeled the seal open and slid the contents out. Screenshots, email threads, bank statements, a printout of the contract with my forged signature. Only this version had yellow highlights, red notes, timestamps in the margins. And at the very bottom, a post-it note in clean block letters, in case she tries to turn this on you. That was it. No name, no threat, just a fact. I stood there barefoot on the hardwood floor, the pages fanned out in my hands. My pulse didn't spike, my vision didn't blur, but something settled inside me, hard and permanent, like concrete. Not fear, not revenge, something sharper, clarity. That night, Delphine went live again, this time from a luxury hotel suite. Hair curled just right, eyes glossy, voice cracking on cue. She's always been jealous of me, she said into the camera. Brenda's bitter, always has been. She couldn't handle that I found real love, real support, real success. So she decided to destroy it. She sniffed, wiped away a tear that didn't fall. And you know what hurts the most? Her voice trembled. I thought she was family. Comments poured in faster than she could fake a cry. Then why'd you fake her signature, sis? She's the one who built the venue you trashed. Girl, sit down. Your mascara's not waterproof. And the hashtags rolled on. #Delphine down #. Luxury lies #wallet with Wi-Fi. I didn't comment, didn't call, didn't clap back. I uploaded a single PDF to a public Dropbox folder. One document, no caption, no commentary. It was the real booking contract. The one she forged, circled in red where the signature mismatched mine, side by side with a notarized sample from my business license file. The link spread on its own. Reddit, Facebook, Instagram stories. A lawyer even made a TikTok breaking it down like a crime scene. Within 24 hours, I watched the implosion from my living room. First, the wedding registry website went down. Then, Monroe Events Group scrubbed her from their public schedule. Next, the last of her brand deals, a skincare affiliate link, quietly removed her from their website. And then the real gut punch? Ronald unfollowed her, deleted their engagement photos, changed his relationship status to single. She went live again, visibly shaken, voice higher pitched now, and no ring in sight. They sabotaged me, she stammered. My own blood tried to ruin the happiest day of my life. No one bought it. Even her former bridesmaids, women who once posted coordinated hashtags and bachelorette shots, fell silent. One unfollowed. One liked my Dropbox link. Another posted a single sentence. Should have treated people better. I didn't respond. Didn't retweet, didn't bask. I emailed my attorney the anonymous letter with a note. Just in case. Then deleted Delphine's number from my phone. Later that night, I walked through the venue. Ballroom A, once booked to be the scene of her big day, now stood hollow. The chandeliers were dimmed, the stage cleared, no linens, no centerpieces, no illusion, only echoes. I stepped inside, heels clicking softly against polished stone, and whispered to no one, "You didn't just lose a venue, Dell. You lost access. Access to me, to my name, to my labor, to my grace." I locked the door behind me and lingered for a moment in the silence. Not mourning, just observing. Every step out of that room felt like I was burying something. Not just her wedding, not just the drama, the version of our sisterhood I used to hold on to. That old lie we tell ourselves, family always means loyalty. No, sometimes it just means history. And some history doesn't need to be repeated. I returned home late, too late for dinner, too tired for wine, just silence and the hum of the fridge. My inbox pinged. A new message, from Delphine. The subject, "You win." The body, "Are you happy now?" I didn't open it. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my attorney with the same subject line and closed the thread. Let silence be my punctuation. Before bed, I lit a single candle on my desk, not for peace, not for healing, but for presence. One breath, one moment, one reminder. This wasn't about a wedding. This wasn't about vengeance. This was about reclamation. The room dimmed to golden shadows, and I stood in the doorway, staring back at my own reflection in the window. "She always needed the stage," I said, "but I own the theater." I turned off the ballroom lights in my head, one by one, like a slow fade to black. The final bulb flickered, then went out. The silence was complete. I didn't check my phone right away that morning. I let the quiet fill the house first. The kind of quiet that doesn't ache, just exists. The scent of brewed coffee from the automatic timer barely pulled me from bed. I walked barefoot into the kitchen, each step slower than the last. Not because I was tired, but because I finally didn't have to hurry. No new texts, no missed calls, just a notification from my security system. Front gate opened, 6:04 a.m. That was probably the dog walker I'd hired for the neighbor's lab while they were away. And then I saw it. The banana bread. Still wrapped in plastic, tucked in the corner of the fridge. A relic from 3 days ago. Mom had dropped it off without a word, left it on the porch like an offering. I picked it up, held it in my hands. It was the kind she used to bake when we were little, when Delphine and I still shared a room, and trust wasn't currency. It used to mean something. But not this time. I tossed it in the trash, didn't even unwrap it. "It's not an apology," I said out loud. "It's a pacifier." Back in my office, I pulled out an old folder from the locked drawer, my own version of a family ledger, not accounting for business, accounting for the emotional and financial lines I'd crossed in the name of loyalty. Row after row stared back at me. $3,200, co-signed car for Delphine, never paid. $900, AC unit for mom and dad. $250 here, $400 there. Holiday loans that became gifts. At the bottom of one page was my own handwriting in a younger script. "Stop asking, just give." I stared at that line for a long time, like it belonged to someone I used to know, but had no plans of becoming again. I opened my laptop, logged into the bank portal, and found the automatic transfers. Click, cancel. The one for Delphine's rent? Gone. The one for the family cell plan? Gone. The one I forgot I even set up to pay for Dad's satellite subscription? Terminated. One by one, I erased the invisible strings they'd used to pull me back. The phone rang. Dad. I let it buzz through the first 4 rings before I answered. "Hey, B." His voice cracked slightly. I stayed quiet. He cleared his throat. "Just checking in. You doing okay?" I still didn't speak. He tried again. "Look, I don't know everything that's gone down. I know she's not doing great, but maybe that's on us. Maybe we didn't see how much we leaned on you." I took a breath, then said, "I don't need anyone to do well. I just need the truth to matter." Before he could reply, I hung up. No anger, just air. Later that afternoon, I walked the edge of the main ballroom while the fundraiser team did their prep. Folding tables were being draped in soft beige linens, candles being placed, silent auction baskets lined up near the fountain. It wasn't my event, but it was my space. Justine came up beside me, holding a clipboard. They asked if you'd want to speak tonight, just a few words before the auction. I looked around at the women organizing everything, some survivors, some advocates, all wearing strength like second skin. No, I said. Let them tell their stories. Mine's still being written. Justine smiled. Copy that. The sun had dipped low by the time I got home. The house, for the first time in weeks, felt warm. Not just temperature, energy. I changed into a sweatshirt, pulled my hair into a loose bun, and lit a candle. The kind with the sandalwood scent I used to think was too strong, but now found comforting. Grounding. I pulled out my journal and wrote in soft black ink, "Some wounds don't need revenge, they need fresh air." Then paused, and added, "I'm not the girl they raised, I'm the woman I raised myself to be." I closed the book, blew out the candle, and let the smoke rise into the dark. No parade, no post, no press release, just stillness. And I didn't shrink in it. I stood taller than I had in months. Title, "The End is Mine to Write." The light was barely breaking when I padded barefoot to the kitchen. The wood floors were cool, grounding. A single tea bag steeped quietly in my favorite mug, the one with the chipped rim I could never quite throw away. It had character. It had been through things. I curled up on the couch, legs folded under me, and opened my laptop. No rush, no plan, just instinct. I clicked open the drafts folder. Unsent emails lined the screen like tiny ghosts, silent, preserved moments frozen in time. One to my mother, time-stamped 2 years ago. "I'm not mad, I'm just not okay pretending anymore." Another to Delphine, written the summer after she flaked on my restaurant's soft launch party. "Your absence was louder than any speech." And one to myself, just a line, blinking at the bottom, "Don't let them tell your story for you." I didn't delete them, but I didn't send them either. Sometimes truth just needs to exist, not perform. Later that morning, the phone rang. My father. Again. I debated letting it go to voicemail, but something in me, a soft, steady voice I'd learned to listen to, told me to answer. "Hello?" "Hey, sweetheart." His voice was cautious, almost shy. I saw the fundraiser photos. You looked solid." Solid. Not beautiful, not proud, just solid. I smiled anyway. He didn't wait for me to speak. "I'm sorry," he said, "not just for what happened, for letting it happen." For a moment, the line went silent. But not the bad kind, not the sharp, wounding kind. This one had weight, meaning. And for the first time in years, I didn't hang up early. We didn't solve anything. We didn't unwrite history. But we sat there, two people not pretending anymore. By mid-afternoon, I got the alert from Justine. "Delphine's moved to Colorado. No job updates. Her socials are blank. She went quiet." I nodded at the screen. Not in triumph, not in relief, just acknowledgement. Some people don't get better, they just get quiet. I blocked the last gossip tag with her name. I'd seen enough. 2 days later, I received an email from a tiny independent press. "We followed your venue story. Ever consider writing the version that's never been told?" I closed the email without replying, walked into my office, sat down in front of the archive I'd once feared to touch. Delphine June still sat there, untouched since the last transfer. Instead of opening it, I created a new folder beside it. I named it Archived, not erased. Sunday came soft and slow. I didn't check the news, didn't scroll. I made a cup of lavender tea, lit a candle, and opened a fresh journal. Not the one for rage, not the one for accounting. This one, for endings. I wrote at the top, "Not every ending needs closure. Some just need peace." And beneath that, this wasn't revenge. It was recovery. I closed the book, placed it on the table, and sat in silence. No text, no applause. Just the hum of the world moving on. And me, not chasing after it. I leaned back into the couch, arms folded behind my head, and exhaled deeply. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like freedom. I whispered, not to anyone, but to the space that had once been heavy. I didn't lose them. I just stopped asking to be kept. Sometimes healing doesn't come with fireworks or applause. It comes quietly, like the morning after a storm, when the air smells clean again. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Silence isn't weakness. Boundaries aren't betrayal, and love, real love, shouldn't cost you your dignity. I used to think that keeping the peace meant staying quiet, forgiving fast, and letting family walk over the parts of me they didn't want to understand. But peace that requires you to shrink? That's not peace. That's submission. So to anyone watching, whether you're the strong one in your family, the quiet one, or the one who's finally had enough, let me say this. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because you share blood. You deserve peace that doesn't come at your own expense. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you were taught never to give up on? Or maybe you stayed silent when you should have spoken. Tell me in the comments. Drop a 1 if this story touched something inside you. Or just share where you're watching from. I read every word. And hey, if you didn't like this video, I'd still love to hear why. That's what this space is for. Real stories, real people. If this story meant something to you, please consider subscribing. We've got more true stories coming about healing, hard choices, and holding your ground when it matters most. So hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next chapter. Because the end, sometimes it's just the beginning.